Welcome back to Kin in Line. I make this part 85. We start here with a poster I contributed to by means of that drawing. It was, as you can see, at Rhodes University during the July Grahamstown Festival, which was a huge event. There was going to be a lecture given by Professor Andre Brink. He was not only a professor at Rhodes, he was also obviously a famous South African novelist. So he was going to speak on press freedom because that was under so much threat during the states of emergency in the 80s. So I did this drawing of South Africa as an ostrich, based on a sketch that Michael Flanders and Donald Swan did back in the 60s, I think, about an ostrich who buries its head in the sand at a nuclear testing ground. So that's supposed to be a mushroom cloud. And do we know how much? We don't know. Because most of us, as I said, ignorance was bliss under apartheid. You didn't want to know about media restrictions, the joint management committees, detentions, the Group Areas Act, what was going on in Angola, forced removals, bannings, etc. Yeah, so a little bit of fame and recognition for my art in that. On one occasion, this shows how things and times have changed, but this chap was in the courts for some offence, I can't remember what, and he had these nice dangly earrings, which the leadership on the newspaper thought should be, you couldn't take photographs in the court back in those days. So they sent me along to do a sketch of him, which they then used. That line, squiggly line, is where the people who made up the page or scanned this picture in or whatever they did back then were told to sort of crop it. So that's how it would have been cropped and published. So again, I think this is a combination of various things, but this again drawn inside my notepad. I used to, there occasionally were like jazz concerts at the Opera House over lunchtime, and I would pop along, and as I would later do regularly at the Warmer Gardens Hotel, I would sketch these people creating music. Quite like the movement in this one. You can almost hear that sound blasting out. Here I have no idea where I sketched this chap. Just have a look at this face. And now we return to a few doodle art pictures. There's definitely an Indian sort of feel to this. Turban, weird hovering rock. Oh yes, this is actually worth noting. So today the Herald runs a very sort of superficial weather thing, but back in the day we used to get this from the weather office at the airport every day. Somebody would actually have to travel there to pick it up. So there's the forecast. Coast cloudy with showers, wind fresh southerly, I think it is. Inland partly cloudy, becoming cloudy and cold in the south later. Coast, so there's a minimum and maximum temperatures. So this is the 10th of the 9th, 88. So September 88. Maximum only 20. And then until 4 p.m.'s data maximum. So they had, looks like they had really hot weather, 32 degrees at 3:35. So that's a berg wind, famous in PE and East London. This wind off the mountains. So as the air loses altitude, it heats up, and you get these incredibly hot winter days. And that always comes before a cold front. That's why the next day your coastal temperature is right down. And like the minimum there was only 11. Humidity was so high, 98, 34 kilo, maximum gust of 54. Rainfall none as usual. Another of my creatures. I'd really like to turn these into paintings. The more I look at them, the more I can sort of picture how I could do them. Because the big problem here is turning a black and white drawing into a painting. Because what colors do you use, and how do you convert that into color? So here, another little man. So weird. Fletcher Shelton coordination. Must be some sort of advertising company. For my attention, Wood Afroman press release. Yeah, who knows what that was about. But it gave me a nice drawing. So. Again, just a weird figure, but such an interesting sculptural effect here. And then on the right, a very, see this face upside down and the other way up to make quite a nice pattern on a child's duvet or something. Again, I mean, I could really have fun turning this into a painting. I think maybe it should just look like this, not worry with color. Just recreate those, just redraw it on the page. Oh no, canvas. I don't know. And here we've got Aesop. So I'm not sure who he was, but he was clearly of Asian descent. These little creatures keep cropping up. So it was almost like when I was in the army, I found some sort of release from the stresses and strains of being a reporter by just doodling even while I waited for somebody, perhaps for a few minutes. Now this is interesting. I mean, who was Zilla if it's not Helen? But it couldn't have been her. I don't think she was active in politics at this point. And that little guy isn't helping me. So money just happens to, the word just happens to appear above a rather forlorn looking character, which I suppose is fitting. So this seems to be a page, notepad or something that the Herald, Evening Post, see it, that's how the masthead used to look, Eastern Province Herald, established in Port Elizabeth in 1845. So it's considered by the Herald anyway as the oldest daily newspaper in South Africa. Evening Post, then we had the Algoa Sun, the Weekend Post. So the Algoa Sun and the Evening Post are no more. It's just the Herald and the Weekend Post. And published by Times Media Limited back then. Ownership has changed numerous times. It's not worth going into. I know nothing about big business. But there we have a chap enjoying the sunset, I guess, of German newspapers as they went into decline. Well, at this time in the 80s, they were almost at their height. But TV was having an impact, and of course later the internet would really hammer newspapers. We might have to just bow out after looking at this Tutu statement. Okay, so I had to go to St. Hugh's Anglican Church here in Newton Park in Port Elizabeth, where they have the diocesan office, I think it's pronounced. And Tutu spoke to us, and I had to do a story on what it was all about. Can't really remember. And this little squared off figure looks like he could make a nice carving. Yeah, well, let's just leave it at that for now. Cheers.